Is Warframe a game for you in 2022? And you know what? Saying that out loud sounds a whole lot more stupid than it did in my head. But the point is, I can't really answer that question for you. Tell you what though, here's what I can do. I can tell you what I know about the game, some of the things that I have learned not only about the game but also about the community and the developer over the course of a few years and about 7,000 hours or so. And then you get to make an informed decision. Sound good? Awesome. Stick around and I'll try to be not overly annoying. Warframe at its core as a base is a third-person shooter where you get to play a whole bunch of, well, Warframes. Who you are? I cannot say because the lore is the first aspect I want to tackle about the game. This is normally accepted to be one of the highlights of Warframe, the main story, the plot, which is ongoing. It is not finito, the developer keeps adding more content to it. Not only playable content, lore content, cosmetic content, there is a steady stream of content fed by the developer to this free-to-play game. And no, you do not have to pay anything. No, there is no pay to win. No, you are not forced to get out your wallet for anything, not really. Now you do, or better said, you can pay to win a little bit of time, but you can also farm the real money currency, which is called platinum, through the game. So you're not forced to get out your wallet. You can simply farm the game and then trade for this platinum, because yes, it is tradable. Now, the closest comparison I can draw to Warframe, being unique, and trust me, it is quite unique, is Destiny. And I'm forced to make this comparison. Not because I believe in it, not because I believe the games are very similar, simply because the community believes they are, and the biggest competitor would be Destiny. Now, both games, from my point of view, have their strengths and weaknesses, but I never felt what I feel in Warframe in Destiny. The feel, the gameplay is entirely different. And last time I checked, gameplay, at least to some gamers, was the most important aspect. Now you're going to be playing a whole bunch of Warframes. You should treat these as classes of a, let's say, MMORPG, as Warframe does have MMO aspects, as Warframe does have RPG aspects, and it also has some kooky, weird, bizarro aspects which I can't really put into any category, but that's not important. You're gonna be able to play these souped-up, super powerful Warframes with all sorts of abilities. And yes, they do lean from DPS to a bit tanky to some even a little bit healy or buffy, but there is no something like the Holy Trinity in Warframe. There is no tank and spank, and there is only one boss fight, where actually a couple of bosses which you can easily take out. It doesn't require you to play tank and spank, and these bosses can be killed with basically anything in the game. Obviously, some tools will be better equipped to deal with the situation than others. Let's talk a bit about the gameplay in Warframe, since I praised it so much. After about almost 7,000 hours right now in the game, the gameplay still feels fresh, dynamic, and engaging. You will not find a better parkour system in any other third-person shooter other than Warframe. I'm talking about agility, I'm talking about freedom of movement, I'm talking about pure, simple, acrobatic carnage, I want to say. Now, don't get me wrong, you're not forced to use these aspects. You can simply go for the game as a standard third-person shooter, which I highly do not recommend because then it no longer is that special. Getting aside from that, you also got this, how do I put it, interesting graphic style. Initially, when I started playing the game, the overwhelming feeling when I saw everything was weird. Everything looks different than most games. You're not really sure what to make heads or tails, but the more you play, the more you understand the story, the more you get to comprehend and kind of get used to the feeling, and you can unlock all sorts of little gems when it comes to the lore. And trust me, there's plenty of lore to be had in Warframe. Let's get away from the game for a second and talk about the developer Digital Extremes. Now, they have done some other work in the past, but their primary focus, and I think pretty much their only focus right now, is Warframe. Warframe is available on PC, console, and it's going to be available on mobile as well. So basically, you're going to be able to play Warframe on whatever. On your phone, on the can, in front of your big TV, or perhaps even at your gaming rig. You can play Warframe, or you will be able to play Warframe pretty much everywhere, including on the Switch, believe it or not. You see, the graphical demands of Warframe aren't too sky high, but the more powerful your machine is, the better the game will look. And you know what? Considering it's 2022, from my point of view, the game looks absolutely fantastic. It's smooth, and while it may not be without its technical difficulties, it is more than satisfying, at least if you ask most of the community. That said though, let's get back to bugs. Bugs were never really one of the top priority for Digital Extremes, or at least this is how I feel after a few years of playing the game. There are plenty of bugs in Warframe. Nothing too game-breaking, nothing that would cause you to rage too often, but there are several bugs which have not been ironed out. There are several optimizations which have never seen the light of day for Warframe. Fingers crossed the mobile version will be slightly better, if not all better. Pretty soon we're also going to be getting cross-play and cross-save. You know what that means, right? Everybody playing together, which is fantastic. And you're gonna say, hold on, the guys on PC are gonna have an advantage. I'm glad you brought that up. There is no endgame to Warframe. There is no advantage to be had in Warframe, because this is one of the weaknesses of the game, or the weak points, if you will. There is no endgame whatsoever. There is no PvE. And while there is a PvP or several PvP modes, most Tenno don't play PvP and have no interest whatsoever in it. And the developer hasn't really done anything about the PvP in years, so do bear that one in mind. Now let's talk about the PvE. You have so much to explore. An entire star chart full of planets with different biomes, different enemies, different encounters, so many different weapons that do so many different things. Now granted, Warframe is guilty of having 10 assault rifles that basically do the same goddamn thing, but they also have photon cannons, which are absolutely insane, plasma launchers, grenade launchers, a tendril weapon, which, yeah, you get it, and so much more. The diversity is absolutely insane. And you know what? All of your weapons, all of your Warframes, all of your companions, because yes, you get sentinel companions, robotic companions, organic companions like doggies and kitties, but of course they're not named dogs and cats, they're named Gavats and Kubro, and then you get the Panzer Vorpaphilas, and there's a lot. I'm not gonna bore you too much with this, but each of these are moddable. Each of these are quote-unquote buildable. You gotta make a build for your Warframe. You can make a build for your weapon, for your primary weapon, secondary weapon, your melee weapon, your companions. Essentially, if you're the type of player that enjoys Furycraft, that enjoys min-maxing, and you wanna grind everything and get your gear to the absolute highest level, you're gonna love Warframe. Only problem, when you're done grinding, when you're done with your build-up of power and your Warframe is ready, your weapons are ready, your companions are ready, there's really nothing to do. Essentially, my friends, this is a collection game. Warframe has very little to do with actual skill. No, almost nothing whatsoever. It has everything to do with experience. It has everything to do with farming. It has everything to do with knowledge and accumulation. You know what's the big difference between a young Tenno and a veteran Tenno? Not just all the stuff one has and the other one doesn't, but it's about the knowledge. There's a lot to learn about Warframe. Tons upon tons of info. The wiki for most new players is on Alt Tab, believe it or not, I'm not making fun. And there are tons of guides on YouTube by yours truly and other fantastic Warframe content creators to help you along. The learning curve is a bit like, it's pretty steep. I'll be completely honest, it's pretty steep, but if you get over those initial, I want to say 20 to 50 hours, you're gonna be loving your experience with Warframe, or at least I believe so. Getting back to the endgame aspect for a second, a whole lot of players, or Tenno, we like to call ourselves Tenno, and again I can't tell you why that is, say that Fashion Frame, yes you heard that correctly, Fashion Frame is the true endgame. And while initially I thought it was just a joke, and even today it's still kind of a joke, believe it or not, there is a lot of truth to that. There are a lot of cosmetic options in Warframe. You can customize your Warframe to look absolutely nothing like the original thing, outside of the fact that it's biped. Somehow Warframe still haven't managed to do something like a quadruped, or I don't know, something like a blob Warframe or a slime Warframe. If you don't take Grendel into account, that is. That's an inside joke, sorry about that. Back on topic. If you enjoy customizing, if you enjoy personalizing your look, your attire, your weapons, again, companions, everything, you're gonna be loving Warframe because there are so many options. And believe it or not, you don't have to buy them with money. No, you can buy them using the in-game currency called Platinum, which again, you can grind in Warframe. If you're down for some farming, you're gonna be able to get Platinum for everything you need. Oh, and by the way, if you're just starting out your adventure in Warframe and you have a little bit of Platinum in the upper right corner, hold off on using it on anything except Warframe slots. Again, I can't say that the new player experience is one of the best. Honestly, this is probably one of the weakest points that Warframe has. The new player experience is pretty terrible in the sense that it's very rough. It kind of throws you into the deep end and says, hey, good luck, I'm out. Now for a minute, let's talk about the community of Warframe, because this is another essential part to basically any online game. While Warframe does have some MMO aspects, you are not forced to play this in multiplayer whatsoever. If you're the type of player that simply enjoys your single player experience, then Warframe has that for you, including pausing in the middle of a mission. It's totally up to you. My recommendation to you guys would be to embrace play with other Tenno. Play with other players simply because it is a whole lot more enjoying, dynamic, and you get to see all sorts of cool combinations, synergies, and all whatnot. And besides, you can get a little bit of inspiration from fellow Tenno when it comes to warframes, when it comes to cosmetics, when it comes to weapons, and when it comes to methods of farm or grinding. Most Tenno in Warframe, or at least most Tenno that I have come across, and by most I mean like 95%, have been friendly and pretty upfront, especially when it comes to newer players coming into the game. You get stuff for free from us, well, from some of us. For example, like weapon blueprints, like some mods that we don't need, because being a veteran means you also have a whole lot of fat in that you don't really use. And normally most players are willing to trade these to newer Tenno. And of course, others will charge you plat in the trade chat, but hey, what can you expect? Now don't get me wrong, every garden has its weeds and Warframe is no different. Oh my god, endgame, why did you die, scrub? You can get stuff like that, but normally only when it comes to super high level content. I'm talking about endurance runs in a certain game mode called Steel Path. This is where Tenno get around to measure their EP and see which is the biggest, the longest, or the thickest. Honestly, I never really cared much for that game mode because it requires you to do the same thing over and over and over again for several hours. And this is one of the weak points of Warframe. Unfortunately, it is quite repetitive past a certain point. And that's pretty much it, my friends. Warframe, from my humble point of view, is one hell of a game. And if you don't at least try this free-to-play adventure, then you're doing yourself a disservice. And I do believe that's pretty much it. Hopefully this has been useful to you, and hopefully I'll catch you in Warframe. As always, my name has been Leyzar. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, favorite, share, and subscribe only if you enjoy the content. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!